Hey Bookaholics, so welcome back to another video. Today we're doing another tier ranking. I've already done one tier ranking, I still have one to go, but I'm going through all of the vlog projects that I have done throughout 2025 and I am tier ranking the books. For the first one of these, I did all of my collaborative ones, so be it book clubs, it was the Coven Reads, and it was also my friends take over my TBR. And then the next one after this is going to be my romance ones, where I have done a series of vlogs this year, which are a fantasy reader reads romance. And for this one, the one we're doing today, is we're going to go through all of the books that I have read for my spinner wheel. I have been using my spinner wheel as a form of TBR game, and they've all been thematically based in some way, shape, or form. And I have been reading books based on what the spinner wheel has dictated that I read. So we're going to go through all of those today. I will leave a playlist linked down below for all of the books that I've read for the spinner wheel in case you want to see more thoughts on these books and see how each of these choices came about. But let's actually get into the books. Now, I'm going to be looking this way because that's where the screen is. So I'm very sorry if I'm not constantly, but I need to see. So I'm sorry. But yes, let's get into the books. The themes that I have had throughout the year. We've had, in January, I had self-pub books. In February, I had my Blackathon TBR, so books by Black authors. In March, I had Jane Austen books. In April, I had series to start or continue. In May, I had the Asian Readathon. In June, I had Pride, so books by queer authors. In October, I had like a Halloween themed one. For November, I had Indigenous and Latina authors. And for December, I had Wana, so West Asia and North African authors. So let's go through all of the books that got picked and my thoughts on them and how I would rank them. So for the January vlog, we have self-pub, and the first one along here that I can see is I have Gunmetal Gods. For this one, I'm going to end up putting this in B, I think. It was a good start to a series. It's dual POV and I liked one of the POVs more than the other. So I did enjoy this book, but I wouldn't necessarily say I feel very strongly about it. I've not wanted to continue. I have continued the series, but it wasn't one that like as soon as I finished the book, I needed the sequel. So I enjoyed it and I'm glad that I read it, and I'm appreciative of its impact on the self-pub sphere and the way that it's tackling fantasy from a different lens and a different cultural perspective. So I really liked a lot of elements of it, but it also wasn't one that I'm like, I feel really strongly about this. So B feels right. The next one we have is Die Young by Morgan Shank. This is one that I was surprised at how much I liked it. I definitely would say that I liked it more than Gunmetal Gods. I don't think it needs to be higher than B tier. It's not like a really, really solid book, but I did really think it as a first book in a series, it was really well written. I definitely want to continue this one. I'm looking forward to the sequel. I think it's just come out, so I might be able to get to that sometime soon, but I'm really glad that I read this one, and it was dark but not as dark as I thought it would be, but I found it very engaging and atmospheric, and I definitely settled into the world really well, and the characters were very interesting. So I'll put this in B as well. The last one that I read for this vlog, however, was such a shame because that is Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert, and I'm going to put this in D because I DNF'd this one, which is such a shame because Desperate Measures, which is the first book, was my first foray into erotica, and I had a great time with that one. I don't know if Learn My Lesson just itself wasn't the story that I wanted it to be, because this one is a Disney retelling but with a romance with the love interest and the villain. So this one is actually a throuple between Hercules, Meg, and Hades, and I like thruples, and why choose? I don't mind that. That's not an issue that I have. But with this one, I really didn't care was the thing. And for it being one of my favorite Disney romances, and I was here for Meg and Hades, I really wanted to care more about it. And I just didn't see the point in continuing. Like with erotica, if it's not got my heart racing, what's the point in continuing? So I just DNF'd it, and I was like, okay. Back when I first read this series, I was inexperienced in erotica, and now I know my way around a little bit more. I know what I like more, but also maybe just Desperate Measures was more my speed than this one is, and that's also fine. So DNF, not I disliked it, but more in I'm ambivalent, which is defeating the point of reading an erotica. The next one that we have is my Blackathon video. And for this one, I ended up reading quite a lot of books. I read 5 books for this one. So the first one that we'll talk about is The Underground Railroad. by Colson Whitehead, because this was a phenomenal book. This is going in S tier. I had a fantastic time with it. I knew I would enjoy it, but I did not expect to just feel as compulsive about how much I wanted to read it. I want to read more by this author. I loved the take on history that we had of this. I loved the almost speculative element that we had at one point. I loved how raw and real the characters felt, and I had a great time with this one. The next one we'll do is Love by Toni Morrison. I'm going to put this in A. Any other Toni Morrison will probably go in S. This is probably my least favorite Toni Morrison. Not that I have anything hugely wrong with it, just that everything I've read by Toni Morrison has completely knocked my socks off. This was a good time, but I don't remember it as vividly. And I've read Toni Morrison books much longer ago than this one that I remember more vividly. So I think I'm going to put it there solely on that basis, that it's not as good as other books I've read by this author. But I still had a really, really good time with it. And I love Toni Morrison's prose. Like, she's an incredible author. The next one we'll talk about is Far from the Light of Heaven by Tade Thompson. I loved this book. This needs to go at the top of S, at least for now. I love this. It shocked me how much I loved this, because the setup of it sounds like it's such a generic sci-fi. There is no way I could have predicted feeling this amazed by how much I enjoyed this, because I thought I would just have a decent enough time with it because it sounded like every other sci-fi. So I'm really glad that I love this as much as I did. We're going to go with one that I am a little bit sad about, and that is going to be The City Duology by N.K. Jemisin. I'm going to put the first one at the bottom of B, and I'm going to put the second one at the top of C. I love N.K. Jemisin. She is one of my favorite authors. But this series, it's very centered on New York, which I knew going in, so that's not the book's fault. When someone said this was an ode to New York, I thought it would show me a New York that only a New Yorker would know, one that you don't see in movies. Like, every now and then you'll get a book or a movie about London that feels like London, you know, like having lived there, it feels like a London that you only see if you live there. And that's what I wanted from this, and I didn't get that. I didn't feel like I was introduced to anything about New York that I haven't seen in movies before. And then we also have a multiverse element that just doesn't work for me. I'm not a fan of multiverses anyway, so it just had too many things going against it. So it's not the book's fault, because I knew this when I signed up for it, but it just still didn't work for me, sadly, and I wish it did. The next one that we have is my Jane Austen vlog. This one's got 4 books in it. I had a great time with this vlog. It was a fun experiment to be reading all of these retellings of Pride and Prejudice, of one of my favorite books ever. I always love doing this. We're going to start with the easy target, and we're going to go with Pride and Prejudice in space, because this is literally Pride and Prejudice word for word, aside from a couple of things changed to make it a space setting, but with gorgeous illustrations. This is by Alexis Lampley, and I'm going to put this at the top of S tier because it is my favorite book, but with gorgeous illustrations and set in space. Other than that, nothing has changed. The language, the dialogue, everything else is identical, aside from every now and then a word is altered to make it a space setting. Fabulous, loved it, 10 out of 10. The next one we'll talk about is, we'll go with my least favorite from the book, which is The Other Bennet Sister. This one, I wanted to like this. I really wanted to enjoy a book about Mary Bennet, but I just didn't. I hated this book. It was too long. It threw so many characters under the bus. Why does redeeming Mary come at the expense of other women, namely Charlotte Lucas? Why are we throwing Charlotte Lucas under the bus? Like, of all of the women that you could throw under the bus for this story, we still had Caroline Bingley as a villain, which is just tiring because we've already been there, done that. It's nothing new. But then also having Charlotte Lucas be someone that we're throwing under the bus for this story, and especially so that we can redeem William Collins. Why? So no, could never be me. Sadly, I did not like this book. It's going above Learn My Lesson because I did read it. I did finish it, but I should have DNF'd it, really. We'll talk about one that I felt fine about. Like, I enjoyed it. It's not new favorite territory, but I would continue the series. I had fun with it. And that is Pemberley, Mr. Darcy's Dragons by Maria Grace. This one, I think I'll put at the top of C. Like, I had a good time with it. I don't really think about it very much, but I had a fun time with it. It was engaging. It was entertaining. My second favorite from that vlog is Spellbound at Pemberley by Abigail Reynolds. I think about this one a lot. I need to continue on with this one. The sequel is out. The third book is out now. I really liked the magical element to this. I really liked the bond. I really liked the way that we build the relationship between Lizzie and Darcy. I loved the fantasy element to it as a whole. I loved the way we were talking about the Napoleonic Wars. I had a great time with this one. I think about it a lot. I'm going to put this at the bottom of A, actually. I only gave this 3 stars when I read it, but I've thought about it every day since. So I don't know what I was thinking only giving it 3 stars, but yeah, great book. And then I think the one that was most middling for me was Written in the Stars. Written in the Stars reads like a typical romance novel. I don't think it brings anything new to the table, and it's barely a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's 2 people who maybe have preconceived ideas of each other and therefore are a bit too dissimilar. But I think one of the problems I have with modern iterations of Pride and Prejudice is that I don't think enough work goes into learning about each other and overcoming those differences. I think it's a lot of like, oh, well, I'm attracted to you, so I'll put up with your differences, instead of I actually really embrace them. This one did better with that. So that is something that definitely goes in its favor. It did a really good job of overcoming those differences. I just don't think that it got the point, because the thing is, within Pride and Prejudice, Darcy and Lizzie are actually very similar people. They just come from different backgrounds. That means that their responses are different, but their actual core values are very similar. With Written in the Stars, they are people who are very, very different, who are having to overcome those differences. So I don't think it was at its core enough of a Pride and Prejudice retelling. But as a fun romance, it was entertaining enough. So I think I'm going to put this at the bottom of B. I enjoyed it well enough, but as a Pride and Prejudice retelling, it was not really there and missed some of the kind of key points of Pride and Prejudice. In April, we did series, which was to read series that are in my comfort zone, series that are out of my comfort zone, or series that are like longer ongoing series that I have. We got Blood Mage by Chaos Veloso. This one is going to go at the top of S tier. I love this series. This is the second book in the JM Puppet Master series. I love this series so much. I am so glad that I read this. One of the best books I've read this year. However, this one then was topped, which I just didn't think would be possible, right? Like, this was going to be my book of the year. And then we got City of Jackals by Aman J. Bedi. And that is very likely going to be, if not my top book of the year, one of my top books of the year. It meant that when I was doing my book brackets that I do on Instagram, I had to pick between City of Jackals and Blood Mage. I had to pick between the 2 books that at that point were my 2 top best books of the year for that month, because they were both in the same month. Fantastic time, wonderful sequel. Cannot wait for the last book in this series, but also slightly devastated that the series will be coming to an end. But I love this series. If you like the Poppy War, but you're not a fan of Rin, read this one. You'll like the 3. And the only other one that I read for that vlog, where we've got 2 5-star best books of the year, we've got a DNF. I didn't get very far in. I think I got maybe 50 pages into this book. I do not like the main love interest in this. I knew who he was. I knew what he was like from the first book, and I knew who both of them were. They're both mentioned in the first book, and it's a best friend's brother romance. I didn't like the main guy. He was one of those that was just like so optimistic about love that it was like kind of sickly, and I knew I wasn't going to vibe with him, but the female love interest didn't bring me in enough for me to care about the whole story. Like, it was all going to be contingent on her, because I was never going to be fussed about him, and she just didn't bring enough for me to be like, yes, we will continue. So I just didn't bother. I will probably still try the third book because I own it, and like obviously they're companion novels anyway, but I did not really like this one. So going into May, we have the Asian readathon. So this is where I read books by Asian authors. We read 3 books for this one. So the first one that we'll talk about is The Fox Wife. This is a mythology standalone. This was a weird one for me because I could not pinpoint a single thing about it that I disliked. I really liked this book, but it didn't have a 5-star feel to me. Like, it didn't feel like new favorite territory. So it's ended up with a 4-star, but like, I can't tell you why for the life of me, because aside from like feeling everything about this book, I really appreciated. The writing was admirable. The characters were so well rounded and so well crafted. The location and the setting were completely immersive, and the plot was intriguing. It had everything going for it, and on Copilot it comes out on 5 stars because I can't really fault it in any of those areas, but nothing about it felt like this is a new favorite. So it's going in the bottom of A. That seems right. I don't think about it very much, is the thing. So it was great while I was reading it, but I didn't feel like I was in love with this book, which is such a weird experience. I've never had that before. The other books that I read for this vlog was the Radiant Emperor series by Shelley Parker Chan. I'm going to put She Who Became the Sun at the top, and then underneath it I will put He Who Drowned the World. This one, I can see a lot of people hating this. I'm not going to lie. It was a weird one because I really enjoyed it, but I can see people hating this book. I liked the historical element. I do wish we could see more of it, but we are limited to the POVs and where they are, which is fair. I didn't want her to be bringing in random POVs just so that we can get nods to the historical fiction fans. But it was an odd experience in regards to, like, I know something is happening in the background here, but we're not going to see the repercussions of that for a while. I didn't think that our protagonist was very likable, which is fine, but again, people are going to have problems with that. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the setting. I really liked the writing. I really liked the characters. It's got 4 stars from me. Can't hugely fault it, aside from pacing could have potentially been a bit better, and I can also, again, see people despising the protagonist. The next spinner wheel that we have is June, which was of course Pride Month, and this was just books by authors that are queer or books that feature queer protagonists, if not both. And the ones that we read for this, so we have Arrival of Most Vile. I should have DNF'd this book. It was fine. I used it for our fantasy bingo, and that's the only reason I've kept it. It was fine. So this one can go above the other Bennett sister, is another one like the other Bennett sister. I should have DNF'd it. I didn't. I liked it more than the other Bennett sister because at least it wasn't pissing me off with like disrespecting characters that I love from other works. So it can go above the other Bennett sister, but it's not one that I will ever think about ever again. And the other thing that we read is we read the Serpent Gates series by A.K. Larkwood. And these can go, book 1 can go at the bottom of S and book 2 can go at the top of A. I had a great time with this series. One of the best series that I've read this year. There were a couple more that I liked more than this one, but this is in the top 3 series that I've read this year. I had a fantastic time with it. Would highly recommend. It's got Norse vibes, but it's like epic fantasy. So it's not just set in a Norse setting. It's just inspired by it, which I really like that we've got that. It's sapphic. It was entertaining. I enjoyed my time with it. Over the summer, we had nothing, because heat. So we're going to October, where we read Halloween vibed books. So we had a choice of witchy books, scary books, and atmospheric books. So let's get into those. The witchy books that I read, the first one is After the Forest by Kel Woods, which can go under the world we make. No, above the world we make. I liked this one, but I'm never going to think about it again. It was fun while I read it. I'm already losing some memories on this book. It was a month and a bit ago, 2 months ago. It's not very memorable, sadly. And the other witchy one that I read was The Spell Shop. The Spell Shop can go above Gunmetal Gods. I liked this. I didn't love it. I wanted to love it. I wanted it to be a new favourite. It was a really good time. I did have some problems with the protagonist. I did find her a little bit annoying. It was something that I had to confront within myself. I've said this in the vlog, but it doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to my enjoyment. But my biggest problem with this was the antagonist. I just didn't want my antagonist to be a bureaucrat, you know? I had problems with the antagonist. Sadly, I wish I didn't. For the kind of scary books that we had for this one, we've got The Forest of Hands and Teeth, which was a DNF. I'm going to put this above the other 2 though. That's going to sound weird because they're all DNFs. What's the difference? This one, I only DNF'd because I knew I wouldn't bother continuing the series. It just wasn't going to be for me. It's a YA book. If I'd have read it back in 2009, it would have become my whole personality. So it can stay in a DNF. There was no point in me continuing, but there was nothing wrong with the book. I just knew I wouldn't go out of my way to purchase the sequels and that I was definitely not the target audience anymore. So what was the point? But there was nothing wrong with it. The other 2, I stopped reading because of apathy. This one I stopped reading because I might as well be reading something I'll like more. And the other one that I read in the scary section is Satan Hides the Hook, which is a horror by Lumen Reese. I love Lumen Reese. This one can go, this was alien horror, which is not normally my favourite, but I think was done really well. I'm going to put this just below Toni Morrison. I had a great time with this book. It feels really weird to be putting this in between these 2. You've got like a literary story and then like a whimsical romance and then like alien horror slash, it's not quite comedy, but it's like light horror. Like it's got like a levity to the tone, but at the same time it's still horror. I don't know how to explain it. It's got like loads of gore and body horror and things, but also like there's a tone to it that has like a lightness to it because of the characters. I really like it. I enjoy Lumen Reese. It can go there. And the last one that I read for this vlog is another one that I had problems with. This one can go underneath the other Bennett sister. This is one that I would recommend. This is going to sound weird. If the synopsis sounds good to you and you do not mind real people in your stories being somewhat misrepresented, I would recommend. It's a well-written story, it's got good setting, it's got great prose, the characters are great. I did not like the treatment of the real women in history that feature in this book, and that's why I struggled with the book. So that's why it needs to go there, because of a personal preference thing. But it's not a book I would deter you from reading, even though it's that low down. Moving on to November, we have Indigenous and Latine books. So the first one that we'll talk about, because it's right here, Ana Maria and the Fox. I wanted this to be a new favorite. It's got Mexican protagonist and a mixed-raced love interest. Fabulous. But I just feel like it lost its way a little bit. Like, I wanted to feel more tension. I wanted to feel more romance. It lost its way a little bit. And I'm so disappointed because I was ready to make this book my entire personality. I still had a great time. Don't get me wrong. This book should be the thing that I am screaming from the rooftops about. And it was not. I'm going to put this with the spell shop. I'm going to put just under the spell shop. Same thing as with the spell shop. There are so many elements of it that should be. I am deeply in love with this book. And it just didn't quite fulfill that. So it's an expectations thing more than anything. But, you know, that's where it goes. Alas Away. Alas Away is a shame because I really liked this book, but I don't read YA anymore. And if I do, I read trashy ass YA. So this one was great for what it was doing and for its target audience. I am not its target audience. Should I penalize the book for that? No, but this tier ranking is so you can have an idea on my tastes and my preferences. So I'm going to put this at the top of C. Through no fault of the books, because I'm not its intended audience. It's good for what it is. Tethered Spirits is similar. I'm going to put Tethered Spirits at the bottom of B because it does lean more into like epic fantasy. So I'm going to put that there, but exactly the same thing I said about it last week. I'm just not its target audience anymore. We've got Trust. Trust is an odd one because Trust is a book that is written like it's 4 different books in a book. And I liked some more than others, but the whole thing, the way that it's displayed is really, really well presented. So I'm going to put this at the bottom of A because even though there were a couple of elements in there that I'm not enjoying that segment, it served a wider purpose of the book and the conversation the book was trying to have. And that was really important. So for the most part, the rest of the book, the bits I like of the book, wouldn't exist without the bits that frustrated me because it's deliberate, but it doesn't make the experience itself less annoying at times. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of A because it was entirely intentional and that was fantastic. The one that is going to go at the very bottom of this entire tier rank, I think, we've got Queen of the Conquered. This is another DNF, so this is my 4th DNF that we've got on here, and the one that I should have loved the most. I should have loved this book. Everything about this book says I should have loved this book, and I could not finish it. I couldn't finish it. I'm not going to continue the series. I could not bring myself to enjoy this book and I am devastated. It's a Latina author of color who is queer, who is writing an epic fantasy that is supposedly anti-colonial. You know, everything about this should have been one of my best books of the year and I couldn't get on with it. I hated our protagonist so much and it's such a shame, but I did not like this book and I won't be continuing the series. I am devastated. So then the last one we have, which is Wana, West Asia, North Africa. So we have Bunny by Mona Awad. And this one was a weird ride. Such a weird experience. I'm going to put it above Die Young. I really liked it. I don't know how I feel about it. Other than that, I liked it. I have no other thoughts. I cannot verbalize a single thought about this book other than, oh, okay then. So it can go there. I am so sorry. I have nothing eloquent to say about this book other than that's a thing that I read. And I had a good time with it. So it can go near the top of B. Why not? Then we've got A Map of Salt and Stars. This was beautiful. I really liked this book. I think that the prose style just suits me. I'm going to put this, here. 3rd in A. Just the writing style about this was lovely. I really did enjoy the way this story was told. I loved the setting and how immersive it was. And overall, it was just a lovely book to have read. And I am really glad that I read it. We've got 2 left to go. So we've got Victory City by Salman Rushdie. I liked this. I'm going to put this at the top of B. I didn't care enough about the characters for me to be like in love with the story. I wanted to love this story more, but I didn't connect with the characters. And unlike Foxwife, where I can't pinpoint why I didn't love it, but I appreciated it. This one I appreciated, but I can pinpoint why I didn't love it. That's why it goes a little bit lower. It was a really well written story. It was definitely trying to have a conversation, and I think that it achieved that. I can't really fault it aside from the fact that I wanted to connect more to the characters than I did. And the last one I've got is Conqueror's Blood. Conqueror's Blood, I don't feel much more about it than Gunmetal Gods, but obviously by this point we know the characters a bit more, we're a bit more immersed in the setting, so it had less work to do. So I'm going to put it just above Gunmetal Gods because I did like it that little bit more because I was already established in this world. But I don't have any stronger thoughts about it than I did with reading the first one particularly. So I enjoyed it, but I don't feel like it really enhanced the series to new levels. But again, I just was more comfortable with the world and the characters. So that's why it goes above Gunmetal Gods. Other than that, they're pretty much on a par. So there you have it. Those are all of the books that I have read for my spinner wheel this year. The spinner wheel is going to be changing up a little bit next year, so we'll see if I do a tier ranking because it might be a bit more complicated next year. But yeah, this is how the spinner wheel has treated me, with City of Jackals at the top, surprising absolutely no one, and of course Blood Mage got Chaos Velosa up there, of course we have. And then down the other end we've got 4 DNFs and some disappointments. So I think that this really does reflect the things that I've enjoyed and why I've been enjoying them. I think that it does, at the end of the day, come down to how I read and how I approach reading, the mindset that I'm in, and how much energy I am willing to invest in each book that I think is what determines how high or not a book is going to go on this list. But I think that's a very good reflection on my personal reading tastes. So if you are looking to see if I am the kind of reviewer for you, this would be a really good way of determining whether or not I'm going to be of interest to you in the way I approach reviewing, even if we don't necessarily agree on the ranking, just the things I'm looking for in books. That being said, if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them, if you disagree or do agree with any of my rankings, I would love to know. So let me know your thoughts. And yeah, that is all for me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye.